to start by introducing myself, if you don't know me. So my name is Nick and I'm from Mainstream Green, and I'm all about enabling people to be more mindful of their consumption. So how and what they consume and the waste they create. Essentially, what I am all about is behavior change. So how do we go from knowing that we want to do something like reducing our waste to actually doing it? Because there's this big grey area of being human that can get in the way. It's a bit like diet and exercise and sleep. We all know what we should do, but that doesn't necessarily mean we do it. So how do we navigate that to create some change? I am a local Cambridge resident, so I am based in Cambridge East, and I do quite a bit of stuff partnering with Waipā District Council around education to do with waste minimisation and reduction. And I just want to say a huge shout out to Waipā District Council for supporting this event tonight and bringing this to you guys. Waipā District Council does a lot of awesome work in the waste minimisation space, and I love working with the team there. And Sally, who is the waste minimisation officer from Waipā District Council, is actually on the call with us tonight. Bit of a shout out to Sally. She does an amazing job and I love working with her, and she's great at getting stuff done. So thank you for all the support for bringing this event to life tonight, Sally. So in terms of what will happen tonight, it's all about coming up with simple ways to reduce plastic in your home. Single-use plastic is what we're talking about. So that stuff that's used for a really short amount of time and then will either end up in the rubbish bin or hopefully the recycling bin. This event comes on the back of recent changes that you would have noticed in Waipā around the plastics that can be recycled. And what we're going to do first is to go through a video which talks a little bit about those, the changes that have happened, how to understand the different types of plastic and what can and can't be recycled. Then after the video, so the video goes for about 9 minutes, after the video I'll give you some further ideas around ways to reduce your plastic and personally what I do, in the hope that it might inspire you to make some changes yourself. By no means am I perfect, or by no means is what I do the only way, but it's just there. I'm just sharing some ideas that might motivate you to make some of your own changes. Then we are super lucky to have Caitlin from Feel Good in Cambridge and Erin from the storeroom in Te Awamutu, and they are going to give us each a 5-minute tour of their stores. So they are streaming to us live from their stores in their respective towns. So really excited about having that. And then once we've done the 2 tours, we'll also have some time to answer some of those questions that have been coming through throughout the evening. Then the really exciting thing is that the very generous Sally has some amazing prizes. So I'm just going to share a visual here of this prize pack. Check that out. So that's an amazing pasta making kit that we've got, and that whole prize pack is up for grabs tonight, as well as a couple of other vouchers. So there will be chances to win those throughout the evening. So again, a massive shout out to Sally for making those available. And then we will wrap up no later than 8:30. So we've got quite a bit to get through, so we'll crack into it now. So I'm going to start by kicking off the video. Now, fingers crossed that technology is on our sides. If it is not, this video will be posted on the Waipā District Council website, and I'll send out a link to that. But let's crack on and hope that it works. Enjoy, everybody.
Show you the 4 types of plastic that can't be easily recycled and what you can do to avoid using them. Plastic types are identified by a number from 1 to 7. You can normally find the number inside an arrowed triangle on the bottom of an item. To find out what types of plastic are collected and recycled in your area, the best place to go is your local council website. In New Zealand, there's currently a pretty good recycling market for plastics number 1, 2 and 5. We can process numbers 1, 2 and 5 plastics in New Zealand, and there's demand for the recycled product that's created. Plastics number 3, 4, 6 and 7 are a lot more complicated to recycle. So if you have a choice between plastics, go for number 1, 2 or 5, and bonus points if it's clear plastic instead of coloured, as it gives more flexibility in what it can be made into at the end. But when it comes down to it, Any type of recycling takes resource, logistics, and energy to do. So the best thing we can actually do is to try and reduce the amount of single-use plastic we use. I'm going to share some simple ways to reduce your use of common household plastics. In particular, those hard to recycles numbers 3, 4, 6, and 7. These are super easy changes that I promise won't take a heap of time. Taking your own reusable containers is an awesome way to avoid all kinds of single-use plastic and packaging. I do it for all sorts of things. Sushi, meat, bread, supermarket delis, grocery at the bulk store. I totally get that it can feel a bit awkward the first time you do it. So I'm going to give you a few tips to get you started. Number 1, there's no need to go out and buy anything fancy. Reuse things you already have. Bags, jars, containers. Number 2, choose a container that's right for the job. It needs to be easy to use and put things in and to get them out again. I once tried to use a jar for sausages and it didn't go well. Number 3, when you arrive at the store, just ask that they're okay for you to use your own containers. Call in advance if that's more comfortable for you. Number 4, if it needs to be weighed, hand over your container before you start filling. Number 5, fill it up with what you need. Number 6, pay. Number 7, rinse and repeat. The bonus here is that you'll also be showing other shoppers that it's fine to bring your own container. The most common type of number 3 plastic is trays from biscuits and crackers. Although double check the number on the bottom, as some are number 1 plastic, which can go in your recycling bin. Number 3 plastic cannot currently be recycled in New Zealand. Clearly, I'm not going to tell you to stop eating biscuits and crackers because they're delicious. So instead, I'm going to share my favourite super quick cracker recipe for making your own. Time is often a barrier for me, so whenever I'm baking biscuits, cakes or crackers, I'll double, triple or even quadruple the recipe and throw the extra baking in the freezer. If you're still not convinced, a big batch of these crackers will only cost you around 40 cents to make. If you're buying a couple of packets of crackers a week, making your own will save you over $200 a year. For those of you keen to give it a go, here's my go-to recipe. If you ever get bored of rolling like I sometimes do, throw the extra dough in the freezer. Store your crackers in the pantry or the freezer. If they get stale at any point, just throw them back in a medium oven for 5 minutes. If you're after something even quicker and easier, grab a French stick from your bakery. The staler, the better. Makes them crunchier, saves some coin, and also the potential of it being wasted. Slice, sprinkle with salt, bake. If baking really isn't your thing, it's all good. Find someone who's into it and trade them with something else. Babysitting, produce out of your garden, or even a voucher for a local cafe. Plastics number 4 are often used for squeezy bottles like this. Number 4 plastics cannot currently be recycled in New Zealand. A simple switch you can make is to start buying your tomato sauce in tin cans and reuse a squeezy bottle or a glass bottle. You can then put the rinsed can in your recycling bin. If you're looking for an alternative for lemon juice, next time they're in season, squeeze some into ice cube trays and freeze. If you haven't got a tree, ask around or on social media pages. Everyone knows someone with a lemon tree. If you're into mustard, try to find one that's sold in a glass jar, or here's a quick and easy recipe to try at home. It will taste a bit intense to begin with, but give it a couple of days in the fridge and you'll never go back to a bought one. If you're buying multi-packs of yogurt bottles, it's probably made of plastic number 6. Number 6 plastic cannot currently be recycled in New Zealand. A really simple switch is to start buying large containers of yogurt, as they're usually made from number 5 plastic, which can be recycled. And then you can decant it into reusable containers. You can even get fancy and add a bit of cut up fruit. My kids love it. Switching to DIY yogurt sachets is another way to cut down on the amount of waste you create. If you don't own a yogurt maker, check out your local op shop. I always spot at least a couple of them in the stores that I go to. Or you can make your own, and it's not as hard as you might think. All you need is some leftover yogurt and some milk. Leave 1/4 of a cup of yogurt at the end of the jar and start again. For a dairy-free alternative, you can follow a similar process to make coconut yogurt. Plastic number 7 is a catch-all number for any other type of plastic. It's hard to recycle because it's made up of all kinds of plastic with different characteristics. Common number 7 plastics that you'll find in your grocery shopping would be packets from fresh pasta and sliced meats. Taking your own container to buy deli meats over the counter at the supermarket is a really easy way to skip the packaging. When it comes to pasta, switching to dried pasta will save you a heap of packaging and money, and I swear it only takes a few minutes longer to cook. The good news is you can also get pasta options in cardboard. Just remove any plastic window that fits rubbish and throw the box in your compost, or fold as a fire starter, or recycle it. Or try taking your own bag or container to your local bulk food store. Stock up, it lasts for ages. If you're up for making your own, you'll be amazed at how awesome it tastes. If you get in the groove of making it, you can also make bulk and throw it in the freezer. You can save time by making it in a bread maker or outsourcing it to the kids. I make bulk, then dust with flour, and freeze for around 10 minutes until it's hard enough to pick up. Then freeze in a container or a Ziploc bag. Simple as. Reducing single-use plastic isn't an all-or-nothing game. It's all about doing what you can, when you can, and knowing that every change, no matter how small, is way better than no change.
Awesome. So that video, again, I'll send out a link in the follow-up to this with a link to the video as well as all of the recipes that were shared in that. And thank you so much for all of the chat that was coming through as well. Somebody was sharing the fact that you can use spent sourdough to make crackers, that there's lots of recipes for crackers on Pinterest, and there is. Go deep. There's so many out there. That was just my really simplest one. I also often will add cheese to that recipe, and the kids are really into that as well. So lots and lots of different tips and tricks just to get you started. So that video was actually made for a number of different councils around New Zealand, but you will obviously notice that that is exactly what has happened in Waipā in terms of that focus on only collecting and recycling plastics number 1, 2 and 5, which has been a bit of a change, but obviously required. And interestingly enough, the Ministry for the Environment has just announced this week that they have commissioned a large project to try and get more consistency around recycling in New Zealand. So we will find that a lot of councils will end up sort of falling into a standardised approach to recycling as well, which will make life a lot easier for everybody. So also in the follow-up email, I will send you a link to the Waipā District Council site, which has information on all of the other kind of requirements and what you need to know about recycling in the area. So cool. So I guess that the big message is that things have changed around recycling and they will continue to change. It's quite a complex beast, and I totally get that it can be quite confusing trying to keep up and understand all the different types of plastic and what is happening with them. So what I want to share with you is what's called the waste hierarchy, which is a really easy framework to kind of have in your brain when it comes to thinking about plastics and reducing them. So I'm just going to share that with you now and just talk to it a little bit. So there's lots of different versions of the waste hierarchy. You may remember it. I was a child of the 80s, and I remember it being the reduce, reuse, recycle kind of mantra. So it's often a whole lot of R words. There's lots of different R words. There's lots of different versions of it. This is the one I use. I don't think it's important to get bogged down into what those words are. It's more just the principle of it, which is good to have in your head when you're thinking about reducing your waste or reducing your plastics. So it's essentially a priority order of how we can think about waste or plastics. The last thing, being right down the bottom, the last thing we want to be doing is sending things to landfill. One step above that is recycling. So recycling can be a really good alternative. The challenge with recycling, which we're starting to see now, is that it's complex, right? And it's very much based on demand and supply, and we tend to have a lot of supply and not necessarily the right amount of demand at the other end. Also, when it comes to recycling, it takes time, energy and resource and logistics to recycle. And what the waste hierarchy tells us is actually there's a whole lot of things above recycling that can be a better choice. So reusing things, reducing what we're using, refusing things, so just saying no thanks to things, or right at the top, which is a really nice catch-all, which I really like using, is rethink. Just making a conscious choice in terms of going, is there another way that I can do something to avoid creating that waste in the first place? So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take you through a few different examples, sort of falling under each of those different headings of the waste hierarchy. As we go through it, there's going to be lots of examples, and as we work through them, I just want you to bear in mind that it's not about being perfect. It's not about doing everything. It's just about, to me, it's really having a mindset of going, is there something I can do that's better? Where am I on my journey? What are my constraints? What's a change that I can make that suits me and that's a better choice? So don't get tied up in that fact, because it can get really overwhelming if you try and do too much or if you try and do perfect. And if we all just focused on doing things a little bit better, man, how awesome would that be? And what I'm going to ask you to do at the end of it is to just say, to think of one small change that you can make. That's it, just one. So as we kind of go through this, go, oh man, that really resonates with me. Maybe that's something I could do. And then we'll do what's called a waterfall chat at the end to just get you all to put in there the one thing that you're going to change. So just bear that in mind. Don't get too carried away and try and think of 100 things you're going to change. Just focus on one. Cool. So what we're going to do first is talk a little bit about, keeping that waste hierarchy in mind. The first thing I want to talk about is recycling. So when it comes to recycling, a really simple switch you can make, knowing that Waipā collects and recycles plastics number 1, 2 and 5, is actually looking at your plastics and going, is there anything I'm buying at the moment that is not in a plastic number 1, 2 or 5 that I could switch to something that is in a recyclable plastic? So that's a really simple switch to make. Another one is there an alternative type of packaging? So one of the examples in the video was switching to buying tomato sauce in the tin cans, which again are easily recyclable. So that's a really easy switch. Glass can be a really nice switch as well. The best thing when it comes to glass though, so glass is readily recyclable, but the best thing we can do with glass is to reuse it. So this is an example here. So I switched to buying if anybody recognises that jar, that's a tomato passata jar. Yes, I can see a few people nodding. So that's a tomato passata jar. So I switched to buying my tomato, instead of buying tins of tomatoes, I switched to buying them in glass. And then I reuse these in my pantry. So these are my pantry jars. So you can see that one there's got popcorn in it. I've probably got about 20 of these in my pantry. So they get reused over and over again. Some of these are probably 3 or 4 years old now. So that's that reuse mentality as well. Then in terms of reducing is another really good mentality to have. So again, it's not, I have a lot of people who are kind of like, I want to go totally plastic free. And I'm like, that's awesome. But actually, again, that can be quite overwhelming. So are there simple ways you can do to reduce the amount of plastic that you're using? And one of my favorite examples is double length toilet paper. So switching to double length toilet paper, you've just halved your plastic packaging like that, right? Because you're getting twice as much toilet paper in the same amount of plastic packaging. Also, if you have a little bit of a bulk mentality, and I'm not talking about having to buy things by the pallet load, I'm just saying, is there a bigger pack size you can buy? Because, for example, if you buy 3 1-litre bottles of milk, that has more plastic in it than 1 3-litre bottle of milk has in it. And generally, you'll also save money as well. So that comes down to surface area, right? It's similar to a bag of rice. If you buy 500 gram bags of rice versus a 10 kg bag of rice, a lot less plastic. So that can be a really good way to reduce it as well. I also want to give you an example of yogurt, and I know the videos talked about yogurt as instead of buying the single bottles of yogurt, you can buy the big containers, which is a really good one. So that's what I started doing, and then once I've been doing that for a while, I started going, oh, can I make a better choice? And so I started using the Easy-Yo sachets. So again, not plastic free, but again, I've reduced my plastic by moving to those. Started doing that for a while, then went, okay, can I take it a step further? Can I start making my own? So again, it was very much a journey. And if you focus on kind of that constant sort of focus of, can I do something that's a little bit better, then you'll continue to kind of evolve and change. The next thing I want to talk about is refusing. So for a long time, plastic bags were the big thing to refuse, and we've obviously come a really long way on plastic bags in New Zealand, but there's lots of other things that we can refuse as well. So things like straws, plastic cutlery. You know, when you buy something from a cafe and you open the bag and you realize there's actually a knife and a fork in there that you really don't need. So kind of just thinking about those things, and right up front, you know, now if I'm going to a cafe and buying something, I'll just say, I don't need any cutlery, and refusing those things. So refusing them up front means we don't have to find a way to deal with them once we've got them. And then I want to talk, and this is quite a big chunk that I'm going to talk you through, but that whole kind of concept of rethinking. So really sort of going, is there another way I can do things? And there's a few different ways that, so this is, I guess, I want to share what I do in my personal life and how I've kind of rethought things. So one way is to make your own, which is what I obviously shared some of those recipes in the video. So making your own is great. And as I said in the video, like, I'm not a huge fan, I don't want to spend all my spare time in my kitchen making stuff. So when I make things, I make bulk and I freeze them. So it's making the most of my time. Or I have a friend who loves making crackers, and I'll often get her to make me crackers, and I will trade by looking after her kids or doing something else. So sort of trading and swapping can be a great way to do things as well. Another thing to think about is changing how you shop. So like I gave you the example of, can you start buying more things in bulk? Or taking your own containers is another one that I obviously shared in the video. And Caitlin, when she does her store tour of Goodfill, will talk you through a little bit more of the practicalities of that. And changing where you shop. So, and again, I'll give you some examples as we walk through this, but we often default to going to the supermarket, and there can be limitations in terms of the choices that we have and the products that we can buy and the packaging options at the supermarket. So I'll talk you through a few other options as well. But again, like I said, some of these things will resonate with you, some of them won't. Focus on the ones that do. When I send out the follow-up email, there will also be a link in there to, if you've heard of Hannah and Liam from the Rubbish Trip, they're an amazing couple who do a lot of work in the waste. Yep, big thumbs up to them. They're awesome. Their mahi is amazing. And they do a lot of work in the waste reduction education space. And they have compiled a New Zealand-wide regional shopping guide on their website. So they have a section there for Waipā, and it is all the stores in Waipā that are doing things to help you reduce your waste. So I will send out that link. So I will mention a lot of things now, but you don't need to madly write them down, because I will send you out a link that has all of that information in there. Cool. And also the other piece of advice I'd say is, if you're looking for something, or if you're struggling to find something waste-free, a big part of my journey has been about having conversations with people. So if I can't find something I want, then I will talk to somebody, a supplier at the farmer's market, or we have the likes of Erin and Caitlin on the line tonight, they would now be my go-to in terms of, I can't find this. Can you guys source it, or have you come across anything? So just because you don't find the answer straight away, I've found the power of conversation can be an amazing way to find solutions as well. And we've got the amazing luxury of having Erin and Caitlin right on the call tonight, which is awesome. So now I'm just going to run through some kind of key categories of products that I buy and switches that I've made. Again, like I said, not because I'm perfect or that this is the only way to do it, but just that in the hope that it might inspire you or give you some ideas. So produce. Produce, you can take your own bags to avoid those flimsy plastic bags at the supermarket. You can take your own bags. These are proper produce bags. This one would be at least 4 years old and still going really strong. You can make them out of old net curtains. You can reuse plastic bags that you already have. Bread bags are great. Paper bags that you already have at home, or just go loose. You don't actually need to put them in a bag. You know, just grab, if you're only grabbing 4 or 5 oranges, you don't need a bag for them. So that's a really good, really easy switch to have. Also, we have an amazing community garden in Cambridge that where you can go get your produce that comes without packaging. We have crop swaps. We have a really strong crop swap in both Cambridge and Te Awamutu. And again, these will all be listed in that regional shopping guide where you can go along and take excess produce and swap it for others. We have in Te Awamutu, in the little park close to council, there's the sharing shed where people will take their excess produce where you can go and grab that. Yep, thumbs up to that. And also I've noticed a number of schools. So my daughter's school being Cambridge East has a little sharing shed. I know Cambridge Primary does, and I know a number of other stores have it around as well. And also there's fruit trees. There's a lot of public fruit trees where you can just go and forage fruit without packaging, which is great. In terms of pantry staples, so sourcing pantry staples without plastic, we have the amazing Feel Good in Cambridge, which Caitlin will be taking you a little bit of a tour of her store in a minute. We also have Forage that has some bulk bins in there. In Te Awamutu, we have the amazing Storeroom, which Erin will take you on a bit of a tour of, as well as Binin, as well as a number of supermarkets that have bulk bins where you can take your own bags and refill those. So those are great options as well. Dairy. So again, we're quite spoilt for choice in Waipā. We have some great dairy, so dairy milk providers where you can refill or sort of recycle, so they have bottle swaps going on with their glass bottles. So we have in Cambridge, we have Alexander Organics, and in Te Awamutu we have Humpbridge Milk. I got that right? Humpback. I always got to say humpback. In Te Awamutu, those are both raw milk providers. For a pasteurised option, we have Jersey Girl Organics, where you can take your bottles to the market and refill those. And also delivering to Cambridge, so they are from Raglan, but delivering to Cambridge is also Dreamview Milk, where you can leave your bottles out and reuse those, which is another pasteurised option. Now, somebody brought up the question of nut milks. So predominantly the format to buy nut milks in is the Tetra Packs, which are not recyclable. So we have just started experimenting at the co-working space that I work in, because there are a few people that drink almond milk there. Have started experimenting. There is a company from Rotorua called Vigour and Vitality that make a concentrated nut milk. So it's a 250 ml jar, and that makes 4 litres of nut milk. And the nut milk drinkers at the office, it has passed their test, so that is great. I know Caitlin is potentially looking at stocking them. Erin, have you? Yep. So again, if that's something that interests you, you can talk to both Erin and Caitlin, because that's a great way. Tetra Packs can be quite a big waste creator, so that's a really good opportunity. You can of course make your own. Lots of recipes abound, and when I made my own almond milk, I was amazed at how much better it tasted than the store-bought stuff as well. Cheese. So I know I had a few questions about cheese. So specialty cheese, quite easy to get without packaging. We have Over the Moon, we have Dante's in Cambridge, we have the farmers market. Often the supermarkets will have it, and you can take your own containers into the supermarket. It is a challenge to find a good value-based family cheese, like a block of cheddar. It's quite hard, and it's quite hard all over New Zealand. So some supermarkets where they have a full deli will sell a basic cheddar, and you can go in and they will either wrap it in paper for you, or you can take your own containers. Last I heard, there was nowhere locally that was doing it, but some Countdowns and some New Worlds do that as well. Meat. We had lots of questions about meat. So meat, you can take your own containers to get meat either at the supermarket or Holy Cow, for example. At butchers, you can ask as well. This is the type of container I would take if I was kind of buying one-off meat. You can obviously use whatever you like, but that's an example of a container that I would take. To save time and to save money, I buy my meat in bulk. So I'll buy a quarter or a half beast at a time. And I know I had a lot of questions coming up about, if you're doing home kill, what do you store it in? How do you avoid the plastic bags? So this is what I will use: containers, especially if it's something like chicken. I will always store it in a glass container that's easily washed and sanitized. But I've also started experimenting with these. So these are meat bags, which is a terrible name. I'm going to need to come up with something better. But a friend made these for me, and these are made out of PLU or PUL, I can't remember, which is kind of that nappy bag type material. It's food grade. What was that, Sally? It's food grade, and it's washable at hot temperatures from a hygiene point of view. So that is what I use for storing my meat. But another thing that you can do is, again, just reuse all of those things that you have. So thinking about that waste hierarchy, reuse is a key part of that. You will always be getting something in packaging. So is there a way that you can reuse that packaging? So I have a friend that buys nuts in bulk, and they come in really heavy duty Ziploc bags. She gives me all her Ziploc bags, and I reuse those for freezing things as well. So again, think about, is there anything else in the house that I could reuse? Bread. I bought my bread. I reckon my husband's going to be wanting to make toast soon, and he'll be wondering where the bread is. Here it is. It's in the spare room. So bread, you can bread, like if it's a supermarket with an in-store bakery, you can get bread without packaging there. We have the likes of Valare in both Cambridge and Te Awamutu. We have farmers markets. I know Erin gets bread into the storeroom. Lots of options. I know you can, same thing, you can buy it in bulk because it freezes really well. So I have a friend who keeps all of her old bread bags, orders in bulk from the supermarket, gets them to slice it in the bakery, goes in, picks up a box of it, puts it in her bread bags and throws it in the freezer. So, and gets a discount when she buys in bulk as well. It's like what we used to do when we went on school camp. We don't eat a whole heap of bread. We get ours from Valare, and then I store it in, this is just a big beeswax wrap that I made. So we store it in that. You can, of course, make your own. And I know there's been some comments kind of going through the chat about how great bread makers are. Awesome. Awesome. If you're into doing that, then that's great. But some other options for you as well in terms of purchasing it there. Takeaways. So going waste free does not mean you have to go without takeaways. We eat a lot of takeaways. If I'm going to get sushi and I'm in the office, I'll just grab a plate and take my plate with me and walk that down to the store and get some. Otherwise, I'll use similar containers like this. If we're getting Indian or Thai, we'll just ring ahead and we'll say, please, can we bring our own containers? And they're normally like, hello, Nick, because they know that it's me. Take my containers down, just make sure we're there kind of 5 minutes early, hand our containers over, take that home. And I swear it tastes better out of real glass. I've even taken a pot before to get rice put in at the Indian place. I reckon our visitors, I could have almost pulled off that I've made it myself, but didn't quite make that. Treats. So we've got the likes of Dante's, Victoria Station in Cambridge, where you can buy lollies and things, and your supermarkets have great bulk bins as well. They can work out a bit more expensive. I get that. I guess the benefit is you can buy what you need, because generally, so I worked in the supermarket industry for a long time. Packaged products are packaged in a way to make you buy and consume more. So bulk buying from bulk bins is a great way to kind of control the amount that you're buying as well. Coffee and tea. So bulk stores, the likes of Feel Good and the storeroom, will have bulk coffee and tea. Some cafes do it as well, especially if they're roasting. So if you have a favourite cafe and a favourite blend, you can ask them if you can get it directly from them. And same with teas. So the bulk stores will have package-free tea options as well. Personal care products, again, I only have time to touch on this briefly. One of my favourite switches with personal care products is to go to bar products and bar forms. So this is actually a man all-in-one bar, because clearly a man only needs one product, which is shampoo, body wash, shaving foam. It's everything in one. So, and that there, so when you are buying something like a bottle of shampoo, up to about 70% of the contents of that is water. So all of that packaging is there to house the water. When you buy something in a bar form, it's taken all that water out, so you're just getting the concentrated product. That came wrapped in a little paper sleeve, so it comes with minimal or no packaging, and you can get all sorts of things in bar form now, the most obvious one being bars of soap, but you can get shampoo, conditioner, moisturizer, deodorant, self-tan bars, pet wash, all sorts of things. So really, really simple switch to make. I, again, buy a few at a time, and then I don't have to think about buying it for ages. And lots of great local stockists around. Again, you'll see those in the regional shopping guides, but obviously Feel Good and the storeroom being great for those as well. And then cleaning products. So cleaning products, you can also refill your own containers when it comes to cleaning products. So this is my laundry liquid, and yes, it is a 2-litre milk bottle. Okay, so just reusing the things that I had. I found the milk bottles are actually brilliant for storing this sort of thing. They're really light and easy to store when you're not using them. You know how big they are, so when you're filling it up with cleaning products, you know how much you're buying. And yeah, just a classic case of reusing things that you already have. So, like I said, just a little bit of a whistle-stop tour in terms of some of the things I do. I've seen lots of questions coming through in the chat, so I'm going to have a little bit of a browse of those in a minute and see what I can answer. But what we're going to kick into now is the store tours. It's a very hard term to say, I've learned. And again, if you have questions specifically for these guys, feel free to ask them in the chat room as we go through. We're going to start by handing over to Caitlin. So Caitlin is the owner of Feel Good, which is a relatively new, it hasn't quite been open 2 months. It's in Victoria Street in Cambridge, and it's a refillery, so it's a Whole Foods grocer, and they're dedicated to lowering waste. I'm a Cambridge resident, and it's been a long time coming for Cambridge, so I was very, very excited when Caitlin opened, and really stoked to have it in town. We, again, thank you to the generosity of Sally, we have a $25 voucher to give away to Feel Good. So if you are a Waipā resident and Cambridge would be where you would shop, we will have a Te Aomuru voucher shortly, so don't fear. If Cambridge would be where you would shop, then in the comments, write the word Cambridge now. And Sally will use a random number generator to choose the winner shortly towards the end of this. Cool, a few Cambridges coming through. Awesome. So I'm going to hand over to Caitlin now. Caitlin will start talking. There is an option, Caitlin should appear in your big screen, but if not, you can have a look up on the right, and there will be a little icon there that says speaker view, which will make sure that Caitlin is big and she's the one you're looking at. She's going to be showing you a little bit of what's going on in the store as well. Right, Caitlin, over to you.
Cool, thanks, Nick. Some amazing recommendations there that I hadn't even thought of, so thank you for that. Can you hear me okay, everybody? Yeah, good? Okay, cool. So as Nick said, my name is Caitlin. I am the owner of Feel Good, a new store in Cambridge. If you haven't noticed from the accent, I'm American, not originally from Cambridge, but I moved here a few years ago, and to be honest, was kind of mesmerized by the amount of low waste that you guys had already done. I grew up in a home that didn't even recycle, never heard of reusable nappies before, had never taken my coffee cup to a coffee shop to be filled. Those things were unheard of until I really moved here. So if you're new to the journey, just know that I am pretty new too. Just been doing this a couple years, and little steps along the way is really the way to go. There's no point in throwing it all in, throwing all your stuff all away, throwing your plastic away and buying new things. You can do little things that really make a huge difference. So just to take you through my store a little bit. So when you walk in the door, this is kind of what you see is our bulk refillery, and we kind of have them sprawled throughout the shop. And how it works is you can bring your own containers. So as Nick was saying, you can bring anything from a glass jar to a Sistema container. You can people bring empty chip bags, empty bags of anything that they had reused already. That's if you are prepared. So if you're not, we have these paper bags throughout the store that you can refill as well. So if you are prepared and you've brought a container of some sort, we're not snobby, you could have a half full bin of chia seeds. What we do is when you come in, we just weigh that and we will then write the number of the weight on it, and then you can go fill up whatever you need to fill up and as much as you need. So another one of the factors that we take in is that you're kind of held back in the grocery store about how much you're buying. So things often go off. If you only needed a cup of flour in your recipe, you never bake. That flour is just sitting in your cupboard for no reason. So one thing that we really wanted to do is for you to be able to buy what you needed. So when you come in the door, we'll weigh your container, we'll tear the weight, so we'll write that down, and then you'll just go crazy on all the different products we have. So we've got tons of flours, nuts, seeds, dried fruits, beans, legumes, pretty much anything that you can think of. We probably have 5 different versions of those. So yeah, we really just wanted to kind of go to the masses. Would it be a place that you could only shop at? Probably not. You do need to go and get things from the grocery store, but this is where kind of a change in your routine comes in. Just little things like that. So say you just needed a little bit of flour, that's one thing that you changed. You just bring in, I'll say, you could even bring in a measuring cup. Just bring in a measuring cup, fill up your flour, and go ahead into the car, and that's all you need. So that's one way. So the other way is you're not prepared and you just have a paper bag that we have around the store. These are free, and they can just be thrown into your compost when you're finished, or bring them back, reuse them again. Same thing, fill up what you need, we'll weigh it. You'll only pay for what's inside here. So from there, we also have some nice waste-free accessories that maybe you haven't thought of. Some things that I changed myself was face wipes. I don't know if you guys use the face wipes to wash your face at night and then you just throw them away. These can go in the wash afterwards, so they can be used over and over and over again, and you're not wasting. Another thing that you could do is we have these lovely scrub brushes for your kitchen, and these heads are replaceable. So when you're finished with them, they can go in the fire and the compost and just be done with it. And then you just replace it with another one, and you get to keep the handle, and they last years and years and years, rather than just keep buying plastic ones that just go in the trash. Another thing that Nick kind of touched on was the bars. So we've got tons of shampoo bars. I had never heard of this thing called shampoo bars. I thought it was ridiculous when I first came to New Zealand. I will never go back. You get the entire power of your shampoo in this little bar, rather than, like Nick said, paying for all of the water that goes with it. Another thing that we have in our shop is we refill all of your liquids. So you can refill your body washes, your hand wash, hand sanitizer, which is all the rage at the moment, your dishwash, your dish powders, pretty much anything that you need in your house. What I recommend for that is that you already have those things in your house. Bring those empty containers or full, half full containers and refill them. And the same thing goes, we'll weigh it when you get in the store, and then you'll only pay for whatever you've added to the container. Another easy fix. So say you do only need to fill up once a month, grab it all one day, put it into your car, stop by on the way to the grocery store, and we'll fill it up in no time. Another easy fix that I did was switch to stainless steel razors. I used so many plastic razors along the way as a woman, and you just throw them in the trash and you never use them again, and who knows where they end up. This can be used for years and years and years and years, and we have the blades as well to replace them, and we have a nice recycle program for that as well. So you would just bring the blades back and we would return them to Auckland where they recycle them. As I spoke about before, the reusable coffee cups, everyone has these now. It's amazing to me that it's just second nature in New Zealand that you guys do that. Toothbrushes was another one that I always found, couldn't find toothbrushes that weren't full of plastic. We have bamboo toothbrushes. Again, can be thrown in the fire or the compost when you're finished. And then Nick showed you some of the wax paper that was around her bread. We sell that, really easy to make as well. So that's another option. But yeah, I mean, for me, it was just about changing little things at a time. Don't try to be a hero and go crazy. Really just do what works for you. This was a way for me to do my part. I think that shopping bulk is my easy way to do my part. I am in no way perfect. I'm still learning, and Nick has just in the last 15 minutes taught me a lot of things that I can improve on. So yeah, so that's our store, and we're on the main street in Cambridge. We've been here about 7 weeks, and it's been amazing, the response. I still get so many people in here that don't know what to do, and they're just so amazed at how that they can reduce their waste. And that's really what we wanted, was to try and educate people as much as possible, and they kind of educate us along the way as well. So feel free, stop in, come by, have a chat, and we can kind of learn together.
Awesome. Thanks, Caitlin. Hey, I've just got 2 really quick questions for you from people in the chat. Do you have gluten-free flour?
We have about 10 different kinds of gluten-free flour, yeah.
Brilliant. Do you stock the pine resin that's used for making beeswax wraps?
I do not.
Okay.
I can.
Caitlin's going to write that down.
Yes, I'm writing it down.
Writing that down. And then do you stock holders for the bar, like shampoo bars, etc.?
I do. I have wooden ones, and I also have block docks that go in your shower.
Brilliant. Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Caitlin. I'll just get you to put yourself on mute now. And we're going to move over. Thank you so much for that. And we're going to move to Erin. So Erin is at the storeroom, which is at 54 Alexandra Street in Te Awamutu. The storeroom is very much a family-owned business, and all about focused on bringing you a waste-free shopping experience. It's been going for a bit over a year now, and I know how much of a labour of love it has been for Erin. Erin came to one of my home tours probably a couple of years ago, and I know how much thought and energy and love has gone into what she does in her store, and it really, really shows. It's become such a cool part of the Te Awamutu community, and I know she has awesome plans ahead as well. So we do have another, thanks to Sally again, we have another $25 voucher to give away for the storeroom in Te Awamutu. So if you are a Waipā resident and Te Awamutu is the town that you would shop in, please pop Te Awamutu in the chat room now. And again, Sally will choose a random winner from that. Here come the Te Awamutus. Awesome. All right, Erin, over to you.
Oh, there we go. Can you hear me now? Okay. A little bit nervous, not my thing, but here we go. So most of you know me. I'm Erin, and we're from the storeroom. Yeah, we're on the main street, just a couple of doors down from Heathcote's. As Nick said, we are a family-owned business. So we have 4 boys, and they were a huge part of why we started this. They were a big push from it, and 2 years in the making, and they finally said, "Mum, is the shop ever going to happen?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And they believed in it so much, they actually gave me their money. They invested in us, and they are part owners. So if you see little people behind the counter, they are the owners, and they know kind of what's going on just as much as I do. So it's very cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the shop. Most of what Caitlin says, well, pretty much all of what Caitlin said happened here. Hey, Caitlin, it's so good to see you. And so I'm just going to try and flip you around so you can actually see through the shop. So when you walk into the shop, it's a very long, narrow shop, and it's quite deceptive. You won't really get a feel when I say, but we have over 700 products in here, and that is through customers, customer demand. We've grown to this. We have an amazing waste free shopping accessories, and all of everyone that everyone has said is here. So I'm not going to touch too much on it because it's all here. Your shampoo bars, your block dots, your toothpaste, your personal hygiene, your wraps, your dish brushes, it's all awesome. We do have a peanut butter machine. Yes, hugely popular. Can't believe how amazingly popular it is. We do have anything that you can possibly imagine. We have it. We have your baking needs, your herbs, your spices. We have your snack treats, your M&Ms, your mint balls, your chocolate almonds, your chocolate raisins. So treats you can get here. We also we're focusing, now that we've been open for a year, we're really focusing on trying to source New Zealand wherever possible. New Zealand pumpkin seeds, New Zealand hemp seeds, New Zealand walnuts, New Zealand quinoa. A lot of our cleaning products are, well, all of our cleaning products are New Zealand, and they do come to us in plastic, yes, but these guys take back our plastic. That's why we switched to these guys. So that is eliminating so much more single waste plastic by you guys coming in, filling from these containers. These then go back to the suppliers. They get refilled and sent back to us. I mean, that's pretty amazing. We've found that our customers are coming here first and doing their grocery shopping here first, and that is actually, in the process, has meant that they eliminate the need to go to the grocery store, and therefore they actually do eliminate the amount of single waste plastic straight away, just by coming here first. I made some notes. I know that it sounds super scary, and it seems daunting to shop this way, but as the others have said, you just start off small. If you come in and you don't know what to do, you can bring some containers. We have all of these jars, which my children hate the sound of coming through the doors now, because it's their job to take all the stickers off, and we sterilize them the old-fashioned way in the dishwasher and then the oven. And so you can use those, you can use the plastic jars. I'm going to turn you back around. There we go. Hi. So you guys, it really isn't scary. It's really friendly on your wallet, because you really are only buying what you need. Sometimes the price might seem more expensive than the supermarket, but because you are only buying what you need, ultimately at the end of the day, you are still saving money. It's not scary. It really isn't scary. And there's ways and means around everything, and you come in, you'll find other people, you'll chat, you'll get different ideas. It just, I don't know, it's just awesome. So I think that's all. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erin. So good to be in at the coalface with you and Caitlin. So thank you very much for that. I think it was a really cool addition for everybody to see tonight. So thank you. I'd really encourage you to think about one small change that you're going to make. And there's a thing called a chat waterfall. So what I would love to see now is if you all just go into the chat and write in there really quickly, really simply, what's one small change that you're going to make? And then I can just see them all go like a waterfall down there. So everybody hit the chat room now. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to Sally. Thank you to Caitlin and Erin for making it a great interactive session. And yep, look forward to keeping in touch with you guys soon. Cheers.